Hi again, guys. Dan Talks Football. I hope you're all well and um, are staying safe in these mad times. Hopefully, this is another 15-20 minute where you can just take your minds away from it. Finishing off the Premier League table today. Um, start talking about the relegation battle basically. Um, Start with Southampton. Um, they've had a topsy-turvy season. Um, Obviously, when you talk about Southampton, a lot of people talk about the drop-in against Leicester at St Mary's. But as a whole, I think Hasselhuntl's done an actual okay job there this season. Ings is back scoring goals, which is great to see. Another one who would have been on in the Euro squad. Um, he would have. He's been scoring every goal. I think he looks really sharp at the moment. Well, he did before the season finished. Um, Another player I like a lot is Ward Prowse at Southampton. Um, Having gone there for you, well, not at Southampton, but having gone to a lot of Southampton games whilst I was at uni, I saw Ward Prowse as one of their stars every single time I went. He was fantastic on the ball, off the ball. He is a real work for their team, their squad, um, and I honestly think he's better than the likes of Winks, the likes of some English internationals, and he should be in and around that squad much more than he actually is. Um, Also, like Hoiberg in their midfield, he always seems to have a good game. But he goes under the radar because he just does his job, and his job is a defensive midfield. So it doesn't get noticed like an attacker would, like a defender would. Um, but every game he seems to be ticking over, and I reckon a few more seasons I wouldn't be surprised to see him at a big club. Um, the defence needs improving though. There's been no consistency of who they pick at the back. Um, I was quite surprised that they let go of Yoshida, not because he's fantastic, but because they're so short at the back. Um, Vestergaard is a good player, but he never seems to have a proper run in a team, which I find strange. But Bertrand is past his best, I think. Um, so yeah, I think in the summer that would be where I would improve Southampton. But I think they'll be fine this if the season continues, they'll be fine. Just a couple more wins and that will seal them safety. Next up is Brighton. Um, they had a rubbish start to the season. First out of the season, they didn't look like they knew how to play as a team or didn't click as a team, and actually looked quite poor overall as a football club. Their defence has always been strong. Duncan Duffy's a formidable centre half pairing. They're tall, physical, and I really rate them as players and as a partnership together. They're brilliant. They understand each other. I think that Mopay was a really good signing. I know he's not scored a lot of goals, but he always seems to be lively in matches, and sometimes that's all you need to awaken those around you. And I think that if they can get him scoring as well as being that energy catalyst in the team, then they will start to improve as a club as well as a football team. Um, Obviously, Proper's been there for a few seasons now, and Basuma as well, and those two are really good in their midfield, in my opinion. Um, so is Grosh, and I think that those three in particular in the midfield give them a lot of a big chance in games as well, and they're signing from Moy from Huddersfield. I think that was a clever bit of business because Moy was the only player that stood out last season when Huddersfield went down. They were terrible, but Moy has come in and done well as well. Um, Really, I think they picked it up. So um, not much I can say about Brighton. That I think it's a work in progress, and it's been a big transitional period. But I think if they trust Potter and give him time, they'll turn into a really good footballing side, which they haven't been the first few seasons. They've been very physical with Glenn Murray up top and the defence I've mentioned. So they've become a lot more technical, and it looks good. I think it looks good. West Ham. I feel sorry for their fans first and foremost. Their club is in a absolutely messy place since they moved out of Upton Park. Why clubs are moving from Upton Park and White Hart Lane? Those two stand out in my head in particular. I know money, but to win games, sometimes Upton Park was unbelievably hard to go to and get a result, as was White Hart Lane. But now they go to these places. Like, how many times have West Ham been beaten at the London Stadium? It's been ridiculous. It's no wonder Karen Brady is called for the season to be called off, because, to be honest, they'll be lucky to stay up if it continues the way it is. They've only got a lot of points because Fabianski, fantastic player, has been in goal for them, and you can tell they miss him so much. But he's been picked up injuries this season, and he has massively been missed because he's such an important part of the team. He wins them so many points from making vital saves at vital times. Going forward, I think they've got potential. From no ball in midfield, he is such an important man at West Ham. He knows the club inside out. Like he said, he is key to know what the fans want. He is the guy in between the fans, the players, and the owners. Everyone likes him. He is a brilliant captain, and he's actually a very good football player as well, which he doesn't get highly rated enough, in my opinion. Antonio and Haller, as well as the likes of Lanzini and Anderson, are very, very good players too. If you can get them all clicking together, as well as Fornals, you've got a load of very decent players in there. But to be honest, their appointment of Moyes is baffling, but that's the hierarchy again. They don't understand what the football club needs in a footballing matter. All they care about is money. And I think if they had a good manager in that got those forward players working together, they could go somewhere. But there's no week in, week out, we see a different West Ham. We don't know what West Ham's turning up. Sometimes they turn up, they're brilliant. Yarmolenko, when he's fit as well, is such a good player. I think their defence is not that great. Ogbono is not a Premier League footballer. Diop thinks he's a bit bigger than he is. he made quotes early in the season saying how great he is, and that's come back to bite him. And those two, as well as Creswell going forward, he's half decent, but at the back I don't think he's any good. Same, and they're still playing Sabaleta in now and then as well. And you need to let go of these players and buy fresh players. Yeah, if they're not careful, they'll get relegated. Up next is Watford, Mr. Troy Deeney's club. Big fan of Deeney personally. I think he's a tremendous footballer, tremendous leader, tremendous ambassador of football and of Watford Football Club. He is Mr. Watford Football Club. He has been a big part of their recovery to an absolutely dreadful start to the season. Him coming back from injury has been vital. I think Pearson appointment is a touch of magic. That's the difference. West Ham have appointed Moyes and Watford have appointed Pearson, and I know Watford is still below West Ham, but they were miles off when Pearson came in, and he's transformed the club, to be frank, and they look a threat again, and they look really good. Pereira and Deulofeu going forward, Deulofeu in particular, what a player. Sarr as well, but Deulofeu, on his day, he could beat any defender and he could win any game. I think he is fantastic, to be honest. Really a big fan of him. For example, he won the game when he came on against Wolves in the semi-final of the FA Cup last season. He is fantastic. Foster, he was putting in performances which suggest that he should have been in the England squad should the tournament gone ahead this summer. That three goalkeepers, Pope, Henderson and now Foster, who in my opinion should have been in the squad ahead of Pickford. But anyway, Foster week in, week out, recently especially, pulling off saves that he wasn't pulling off last season or the season before. He looks in the form of his life. Really great guy again, and like Deeney, he's a leader. I think Pearson has transformed them. Maybe, midfield they got Decore as well. I think he could be a player going to a bigger club, should I say, even this summer. I've been surprised that no one's gone for him, because I think box to box he's similar to your Yaya Torres. He's a top player, and I think that he could make it as a first teamer at, say, United, Spurs, Chelsea, even pushing at City at the moment. If Watford keep going the way they're going and keep investing, I see them surviving and then pushing on even more. I think Pearson's done a brilliant job at Watford. Up next is Bournemouth. They've been... I'm not going to be too harsh on Bournemouth or Eddie Howe, because they've been hit by injury after injury after injury, and it's been consistent all the way through the season. They usually get someone back and then someone else gets injured, and they've got a small squad as it is. Maybe they should have made that squad bigger, but they just don't have the financial backing for that. I think that they're a really nice football club. Nice is a horrible word, but nice is the word that you would put with um, Wilson and Fraser not being like they have in the past few seasons. Wilson's been struck by injuries, as is Fraser. Um, it's not been great. Fraser's not been great in a great mental space either, so we've got to take that into account. Football is a human. It's been a hard one for Bournemouth, really hard. I think Ake is a standout player for them. I think he holds the defence together basically all the time. I think he's a really good player. I think if should Bournemouth go down, he'll be off to a Premier League club. They'll be on the phone to Bournemouth straight away, and they'll snap him up because he has been Bournemouth's star man, especially at the back, for years now. I think they'll do well to stay up, Bournemouth, which is a shame, but their time in the Premier League's been really, really good, and it's been a pleasure to see Eddie Howe get Bournemouth playing with mostly average players, if we're all honest. Really nice football and entertaining the Premier League for the last few seasons now. But yeah, injuries have chosen to target Bournemouth a lot more than other teams this season, and it looks like they're going to pay for that in a way. Next is Villa. There's one man everyone talks about when it comes to Villa, and that's Grealish. Rightly so as well. He's a sensational footballer. He has carried that team this season, especially after McGinn's injury. I think that no matter what happens to Villa this season, he'll be off to one of the top 6-7, purely because he wants an England place. He needs to be at, which is a shame in my eyes, he needs to be at a top club to get that English position, but that's the way Southgate and that role. But that's another topic for another time. I think that Houlihan and Mings are key players for Villa. Mings is a really good centre back, I think. It surprised me because I don't think he was that good at Burnley, but he's come back and given Premier League another stab, and he's taken it. He looks physically the best shape he's ever been in, and footballing wise he looks a real player who I think Villa will look to hold on to again, like Grealish, but again it'll be hard if they end up going back down to the Championship. I don't think they will, purely because I think Grealish will push on if the season is to continue, and I think that he will win them games if he stays fit, and that's the key thing for Villa. They need to keep Jack Grealish fit. It'll be interesting to see if they stay up. For me, it's a tricky one to predict, but if Grealish plays the way that he can play, then I feel that they could escape out of the bottom three that they currently are in. Norwich is the final team. I actually think their surprise win against the holders, City, earlier in the season ruined their season. It somewhat took the wind out of their sails, and the big surprise of it all, the big atmosphere, kind of took their focus away from the next game. They focused a lot. They must have focused a lot in training that week about City, and I reckon it drained them. What a victory it was, and they'll always remember it. But I think that hindered them for the rest of the season. I think that Pookie, he started the season so well, but I think him going off form for a lot of the rest of it has had an effect on Norwich as a club. I think Cantwell, he's got the potential to be a very good midfielder, but I think he needs to focus rather than comes across a bit arrogant, and that's, whilst it's good to be arrogant as a footballer, I don't think he's obviously made it because he's a Premier League player, but I don't think he's that class, that level where you can afford to be arrogant, because he's not playing at the highest level yet. He's in the Premier League, but he's not one of the best players in the Premier League. On the other hand, I think Buendia is a very good player. I think he's actually better than Cantwell, so I don't know if Norwich go down. I think more people will be after him than Cantwell. A, because he'll be cheaper because he's not English, and B, because he's probably actually a better player, but it goes under the radar because he's not arrogant like Cantwell is. I think Tinkrell, he shows, he's obviously a world-class player. We've seen that throughout the years, and that was highlighted once again against Spurs in the penalty shootout. He is the king of penalty saves, and I think he is a very good shot stopper. He's been, well, obviously they've lost a lot of games, he's kept the scores to respectful score lines. I think that he, again, will be on his way out because I think Norwich are doomed and gloomed. I think they're down. I don't see any way of them surviving if the season does continue. They might come back and surprise me. I hope they do, because that'll make it a very good end to the season, entertainment wise, but I just can't see it as a neutral. But they've shown themselves to be very good, and they're still in the FA Cup. They might knock United out, but I think that a lot of their players are Championship level, and they didn't sign well enough to stay in this league, which is a shame because I think their football club's a nice football club again, like Bournemouth. Dealey is a laugh to have in the Premier League, and yeah, I think they'll be missed, and they played football the right way, so fair play to them. My predictions to go down are Norwich, Bournemouth, and I think West Ham will go down if the season continues. And it'll be interesting to see the London Stadium, the big glossy thing, in the Championship, and see how much money they make out of that, really. Shame for the fans, but the owners are just terrible. Similar to the Newcastle situation. Once their board is changed, I think West Ham can come back, Newcastle can come back to the club that they were. Anyway, that's all of the Premier League clubs I've shared my opinions on. If you have any different opinions, please do write them down, comment in the comments, and also what I'll ask for you is, what do you want me to talk about in the next video. It could be who the club should sign in the summer, who have been the standout players individually, overall. Could talk about history of the Premier League and who have been the best players ever, best goals ever, whatever you want me to speak about, England and Southgate. Just let me know and I'll do it. Okay, sweet. Stay safe. Cheers, guys.